Dysfunction is everywhere. Just take a look up. From schools to government to finance, it feels like everything is broken and nothing is operating the way that it's supposed to. Gen Z looks at that and they're not fragile, they're just tired of it. The dysfunction that is in place everywhere often trickles down to our teams. So often I talk to people who are frustrated in their jobs, and I find that they're trying to operate in the midst of chaos, operate in the midst of dysfunction. And when you pull the thread on that just enough, you find it often comes down to leadership. We need better leaders who are going to build better systems that create better cultures that ultimately create better teams. Gen Z, millennials, Xers, boomers, it doesn't matter who you are or where you sit on the chronological chart. The reality is everybody is tired of operating in mess. And so what we need right now is to produce better leadership. What we need right now are leaders who are going to step up and create better cultures. Healthier cultures, cultures that are indicative of where you are really trying to go and not just trying to extract as much as you can out of people. A healthy culture is going to be the thing that produces a healthier system, and a healthier system will have healthier teams, and healthier teams will have people that actually want to stay. Culture is a set of shared beliefs, practices, processes, rituals, and language for a particular group. You have culture, and then you have culture within a culture. That's a subculture. Organizations have culture. And culture is not built by motivational posters. Maybe around your office, you see posters that say, work hard or do your best, I'll find something to throw in here. But your culture is ultimately going to determine everything about you. And culture is often a lead indicator for whether or not you are going to be successful. You cannot say that you have one type of culture but actually live out another, because culture is not built on paper. Culture is built in practice. So you can say you value showing up on time, but if you're 15 minutes late to every meeting, you're setting a standard. You can say you value being vulnerable and being open, but if you're reclusive and if you don't lead in that way, then you're going to get a culture that does the exact same thing. You can say you want a family-like culture, but if people feel the need to hoard knowledge and blame shift, then what you have are crabs in a barrel. See, unspoken norms will shape behavior far more than any policy ever will. Building a better culture starts with answering the question, what do you want? If the goal is merely efficiency, then things like psychological safety and shared leadership aren't going to be high on your radar. But if your goal is development and creating the most out of people and building a true camaraderie-like atmosphere, then you will think about things like psychological safety. You will think about things like shared leadership. You will think about your cultural norms and values. But we have to remember that culture is not built in a vacuum. Culture isn't just about who is in the room right now. Culture is also about who you want to be in the room with you. I think a really great example of this is the Oklahoma City Thunder. This was a team that had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. This was a team that made the NBA Finals in, I want to say, 2011 or 2012. They lost to LeBron James's Heat. So somewhere in that area. And within 3, 4, maybe 5 years, all 3 of those future Hall of Famers were gone. All 3 of those current or future MVPs were gone. So they had to rebuild. Oklahoma City Thunder GM Sam Presti talked about his philosophy when it comes to building the team that they have now, the current reigning NBA champions, led by Canadian hotshot Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They draft and they trade and they sign free agents based on character, because teams are not built on paper. They're built in real life. And they recognize that someone might be the most talented prospect, but their inability to play well with others, or their lack of a work ethic, or their low character might keep them from destroying what they have built together. So the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that is in a small market, that doesn't have the kind of owners who are going to spend every possible dollar they can. Remember, they lost James Harden over what was like a $6 million difference or something like that, which in that world, that's just play money. That $6 million, that's a lot for me. But they looked at what they had and they said, how can we build a different kind of system here? Many people liken it to almost a college type atmosphere where they've got a bunch of young guys who have grown together, who've struggled together, who are building together. They're similar age, similar values, and then they have just enough old guys, veterans in the room to help kind of steer the ship. But it's high character guys, high quality guys who show up early, guys who stay late. That was who they built their team around, and it has obviously led to success as they're the current NBA champions. Now, I don't know if you know this right now, but this NYC shirt, this is New York Knicks gear, and I'm hoping that this year the Thunder don't repeat and that the Knicks do it all. But that's out of the scope of this video. ESPN, if you want to have a conversation, I'm open to it. Anyway, as you're building a team, you have to be mindful of not only who's already there, but who you want to be in the room. Now, honestly, if we were trying to build NBA championship caliber teams, it might be far easier than what a lot of us are trying to do. Because the Thunder, again, they're roughly all the same age, and even their old guys aren't that much older than the rest of the team. We are trying to build teams that work together who are spanning across 4 generations. 4 generations that have different values, different inciting incidences, different core memories. They're just coming from completely different places. And our goal is to create and build and manage and lead teams that are spanning across these 4 generations and getting them to work harmoniously together. That is an incredibly complex task, but it is not impossible. Whatever team you're building has to be mindful of who is in the room, their cares, their causes, their concerns, while also being able to transcend them. And while there's always nuance to this, I do think that there are 5 things in particular that every team needs, every multi-generational team needs to have for success. The first one is psychological safety. Now, psychological safety is not the freedom to be a jerk. Psychological safety, as defined by Amy Edmondson, is the ability for your team to be able to take risks. People want to know, can I show up, not just as my full self, but can I show up and contribute in such a way that does not lead to me being reprimanded, to reprisal, to retribution, that does not lead to me being boxed out? When teams are psychologically safe, and I mean safe enough to take the risk in the meeting, safe enough to take the risk on the project, safe enough to take the risk on the task, when they have that, you are going to get the best and most. Sure, there are bad ideas, but we don't make you feel dumb for giving them. In fact, we look at those ideas and we might say, even though this is bad, is there something we can learn from this? Can we maybe strip this for parts and get down to something? Psychological safety sits at the core of team management. It sits at the core of leadership. Because if you are the type of leader who does not make your people feel psychologically safe, you're never going to get the best out of them. The second thing that teams need is healthy conflict. We hear the word conflict and we often think bad, but healthy conflict isn't always bad. Sometimes we need healthy conflict to help drive us to the place that we are trying to go. Now, in a psychologically safe place, that conflict looks good. We might have a problem, we might have an issue, but at the end of the day, we know that we're working toward the same goal. And sometimes we think to ourselves, well, maybe we just have different ideas on how to get there. Different is not bad, different is just different. I once worked for a leader who would profess that he loved conflict, loved it. And yet anytime someone challenged him, they were thrown out. They were sidelined. They were given the cold shoulder. He didn't love conflict. He loved being in charge. So anytime he was forced to have a difficult conversation, not even forced, he ran to the difficult conversations as long as he was the one in charge. That's not healthy conflict. When people question you or or push back on your leadership, if you shut them down at every turn, if you're unwilling to hear things about yourself as a leader that might be true, that will help you grow, but you reject them, then that's not healthy conflict. And it's also not psychologically safe. How will people feel as though they can come to you if every time they come to you, it ends in tragedy? Third thing these teams need are developmental pathways. Everyone, but in particular Gen Z, they want to know, how does my present work connect to where I'm going? What are the development timelines and pathways for me? You see, the days of just work 40 years at the same job, just stay at the company and you'll eventually get your shot, those days are gone. We don't have a lot of stories of people starting as a janitor or starting in the mailroom and ultimately working their way up to VP of sales or to CEO in some cases. So Gen Z, who switches jobs on average every 2 to 3 years, they want to know, do you have a plan for me? People are more likely to stick around if they know there's a plan for them, if they know that this work that they're doing here connects to where they're going over here. I once worked for a guy who very intentionally hired people fresh out of college. And his whole plan was, they're young and they're hungry, you work them super hard and you burn them out, and then you let them go when you're done. That's not a developmental pathway. That's exploitation. That's probably the worst way you can treat people. And honestly, if this is your first job out of college, it just sets up a terrible path before you. Terrible expectations of what work is and how work should go. The fourth thing that teams need is a compelling vision and mission. Now, this one is important because teams need to know where they're going. Teams need to know what they are doing. They need to know what is our plan. Your vision and your mission lets people know who you are and what you're about and where you're going. Sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, vision leaks. You start to see other things or new things, compelling things, and you think to yourself, ooh, I want to go chase that. Or maybe we should broaden. And mission drifts, where you start to get new opportunities that pop up. Your vision and your mission, they orient you to who you are and what you're doing and where you're going. Teams need that. Vision and mission are nothing more than good, healthy boundaries. It is on you as a leader to convey that. I once worked for a leader who, for whatever reason, he just couldn't get his vision across to the team. No matter how many times he presented it, no matter how many times he articulated it, it just wasn't coming across clearly. Clarity always falls on the feet of the leader. When presented with this, his response was, well, I've presented it to everyone so many times, at this point it's on them. They need to figure it out. But that's not how it goes. You as the leader are responsible for taking that mission and heralding that mission and championing that vision and getting people to fall in line with that vision for the good of your team, for the good of your organization, and for their good. Because a compelling vision and a compelling mission, it helps people figure out, am I here or am I not? Is this the place for me or is it not? And the last thing, number 5, that your team needs is fun. That might sound weird and like out of place, but in reality, there is a reason that all of the Fortune 500 companies do leadership retreats, they do team building exercises, they do these bonding things, because we are more than work. We are more than what we do. And if we cannot have fun together, then how do we build camaraderie? How do we build the relationships and bonds that form that allow us to work in a much easier fashion? You know, not to get all political on you, but back in, I want to say back in the 70s and 80s, members of Congress from both sides used to play a softball game together. They also used to live together. Now they stopped doing that, but back then it was a lot easier for them to accomplish different goals and visions and come together on policy, because you were no longer Jim, the Republican or the Democrat on the other side of the aisle. You were Jim, the guy that I played softball with. You were Jim, the guy that I struck out, the guy that I hit a home run on. Fun brings people together. Fun absolutely has a place in our work lives. It was funny, I once had a leader I worked for where she looked at me and she said, we don't need that. I don't need fun. I don't need to be friends with the people that I work with. And I looked at her, I said, I don't think that's true. She goes, what do you mean that's not true? I go, you have your inner circle. You're a very tight circle and you work really well with that circle. You in that circle, you go get drinks. You in that circle, you go bowling. You in that circle, you go and you do things. You're in each other's lives, and that's great for you. But recognize how that fun, how those bonds have created a better working life for you in that circle. All I'm asking you to do is not be best friends with the rest of us. What I'm asking you to do is recognize the place that fun has in the formation of a team and how it can help all of us work together and release a lot of the tension that exists amongst our people. Yeah, she didn't like that and got rid of me. But, you win some, you lose some. None of these traits are groundbreaking. None of these are things that you won't find in books anywhere else or you don't already know internally. But what these 5 items need: psychological safety, plan for development, fun, a compelling vision and mission. And I forgot the 5th one. What was it already? Oh, and developmental pathways. What these things need are strong, coherent leadership. They need leaders who can take these things and remember them and hold on to them. And when the team starts to move away from them, can draw the team back. And you know who I'm looking at for this? I'm looking at middle managers. So much of what we do kind of in the leadership and in the workspace and in the team formation space is we're looking up at CEOs and executives and we're saying you need to like craft a better vision and create culture and all that. And then we're looking below at the individual. But the middle manager is the unsung hero of most organizations. Because not only do they have to manage up from what can be a crazy or a toxic boss or a boss who doesn't understand what's happening on the ground, but they also have to manage below. They have to look at that person who is under them, who is frustrated, and figure out a way to cajole and cultivate and carry them forward in the mission. Middle managers need more help. They need more recognition. Middle managers need more love. But middle managers, if you can hold on to these 5 things, if you can herald them well, you're going to create teams that will run through a wall for you. I have seen middle managers who do these things well, and with all the mess that happens above them, they kept all the people below them not only safe, but they kept them there. People, they'll be frustrated with a job, but they will leave bad leadership. And the inverse is true. While frustrated at that job, they will stay for good leadership. The executives and the C-suite, they very rarely touch those people on the ground, but the middle managers do. And if you are in that middle management position, what will transform your leadership are these 5 principles and the way you're able to carry them below you and herald them above you. So if you need help thinking through these things or trying to process them or figure out just how exactly they can fit on your team, that's why I'm here. I coach my clients through these on a regular basis. I've been in this middle management position. I've been in the position where it's a small organization, right? About 50 people or so. But I was number 3 on the pecking order. And my job was to play that buffer between the top 2 and everyone below me. I had some missteps, but I also had some things that I did well. And now I get to take that experience and bundle it up and give it to you. So I'm opening slots for coaching. Hit the links. Find me on Instagram, find me on LinkedIn, go to my website, cjquartlbaum.com. But this is not something you have to do or face alone. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm just a middle manager. I don't want to deal with any of this. I don't want to be bothered. I hear you. But I also wonder, is there some potential in you that you're leaving untapped, unlocked? Some potential in you for your growth. And this isn't about your job, right? Life is more than work. It's about you as a person, because how you do anything is how you do everything. I'm here to help see you become the best version of yourself. And if you want to do that, come find me, because we can do this. And if not, I totally get it, right? Some guy on YouTube in a Knicks shirt. What do I know? I'm just some guy from